I stared at the iced tea dripping down my silk blouse, watching the amber liquid seep into the fabric like a growing bloodstain. The silence in the dining room was absolute, broken only by the soft plink of ice cubes hitting the hardwood floor. My name is Ruby, and this was the moment my mother-in-law decided to destroy my marriage. Oh dear, Linda said, her voice dripping with false concern. My hand must have slipped. She placed the empty pitcher on the table with deliberate care, her manicured fingers lingering on the crystal handle. I could feel every eye in the room on me. Jake's bewildered stare, Melanie's poorly concealed smirk, even little Emily's wide-eyed shock from her booster seat. The Sunday roast lay forgotten, steam still rising from the perfectly arranged plates. "Let me help you clean up." Jake started to rise, but Linda's hand shot out, gripping his wrist. "Actually, before anyone moves, I have something that needs addressing." She reached into her designer handbag, pulling out a thick manila envelope. "These arrived yesterday, and I think now is the perfect time to discuss them." My stomach clenched as she slid the envelope across the table, leaving it just out of reach of the spreading tea puddle. I didn't need to open it to know what it contained. The familiar legal letterhead was visible through the paper. "Divorce papers," Linda announced to the room, as if introducing the next course. "Already filled out. All Jake needs to do is sign." I turned to my husband, searching his face for any sign of surprise, any hint that this was as much of an ambush for him as it was for me. But Jake wouldn't meet my eyes, suddenly fascinated by his untouched mashed potatoes. "You knew about this?" My voice came out steadier than I felt. "Ruby, honey," Linda cut in before Jake could respond. "Let's not make this more dramatic than it needs to be. We all know this marriage isn't working. Jake needs someone who understands family values, someone who can support his dreams instead of." She gestured vaguely at my tea-soaked appearance. "Whatever this is." Melanie snorted into her wine glass. "At least you didn't ruin one of your good outfits, Rubes." This one was clearly from the clearance rack. I stood up slowly, feeling the cold liquid running down my spine. "Jake," I said quietly, "look at me." He raised his head finally, and what I saw in his eyes told me everything. This wasn't a sudden decision. This wasn't even his mother's idea, not entirely. This was premeditated, calculated, and I'd been too blind to see it coming. 8 years, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. 8 years of marriage, and you let your mother dump iced tea on me before serving divorce papers. "It's not like that," he started, but I was already moving. I picked up my own glass of wine, a full-bodied red that Linda had been saving for a special occasion, and walked around the table with measured steps. Linda's smug expression faltered slightly as I approached. "You're right about one thing," I said, standing over her. "This marriage isn't working." I tipped the glass, watching the red wine cascade over her perfectly coiffed hair, down her expensive white blouse. "But you're wrong about who needs to understand family values." Emily giggled from her seat, quickly stifled by Melanie's sharp shush. I turned on my heel and walked toward the door, pausing only to grab my car keys from the entry table. Behind me, I could hear Linda's outraged sputtering and Jake's weak attempts to calm her down. "Ruby, wait," Jake called after me. I didn't wait. I didn't look back. But I made a promise to myself as I stepped into the evening air. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The hotel room keycard trembled in my hand as memories of our first date flooded back. Jake had worn that ridiculous blue tie with cartoon ducks on it, claiming it was his lucky charm. I'd found it endearing then, his nervous energy, his grand dreams of starting his own business empire. Now, 8 years later, that same tie hung in our closet, pristine and unworn, while my credit cards groaned under the weight of his failed ventures. My phone buzzed. Another message from Jake. "Please come home. We can talk about this." I tossed the phone onto the bed and started pacing, the same bed where I'd spent the last 3 hours scrolling through our joint bank accounts, watching our life together dissolve into a series of suspicious transactions and unexplained withdrawals. A knock at the door made me freeze. "Ruby," Melanie's voice. "I know you're in there." I considered ignoring her, but curiosity won out. When I opened the door, she pushed past me, reeking of expensive perfume and desperation. "You're making a huge mistake," she said, dropping onto the room's single chair. "Jake's a mess. Mom's furious. This isn't how family handles things." Family. I leaned against the wall, arms crossed. Is that what we're calling it now? Don't be dramatic. So Mom got a little carried away with the tea thing. But you had to know this was coming. Jake needs. What Jake needs, I cut in, is to grow a spine. What he doesn't need is another enabler making excuses for his failures. Melanie's face hardened. At least he tries. All you do is judge him from your corporate ivory tower while he what? Burns through our savings? Takes out loans we can't afford? Tell me, Melanie, how many of his sure thing investments have you backed? She shifted uncomfortably. That's different. I believe in his vision. His vision. I laughed, the sound harsh even to my own ears. You mean like the cryptocurrency mining operation that nearly burned down our garage? Or maybe the artisanal pickle business that lasted exactly 2 weeks? You never supported him properly, she snapped. If you just what? Keep working 60-hour weeks so he can chase pipe dreams with mommy's approval? I'm done being the family ATM. Melanie stood, smoothing her designer dress. Mom was right about you. You never deserved Jake. Funny, I was just thinking the same thing about him. I moved to open the door. Oh, and Melanie? That Cartier bracelet you're wearing? The one Jake gave you for your birthday? I paid for that too. She flushed, her hand automatically covering the bracelet. He said a lot of things. Now get out. After she left, I sat down at the small desk and opened my laptop. The cursor blinked accusingly as I logged into our joint accounts again. That's when I noticed something odd. A series of regular transfers to an account I didn't recognize, starting exactly 2 months after our wedding. My fingers flew across the keyboard as I dug deeper. Each transfer was labeled business investment, but the receiving account. I felt my stomach drop as I recognized Linda's bank. The amounts weren't huge, but over 8 years, they added up to nearly 6 figures. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Linda. I hope you're proud of yourself. Jake's devastated. Emily keeps asking where her Aunt Ruby is. If you had any decency, you'd sign those papers quietly and leave us in peace. I stared at the message, then back at the screen showing the transfer history. A cold clarity settled over me. They thought they had me cornered, humiliated, defeated. They expected me to slink away, sign their papers, vanish from their lives. Instead, I opened a new document and started typing. Every transaction, every failed business venture, every manipulative moment, I documented it all. Linda wanted peace. She was about to learn that peace came at a price, and I wasn't the one who would be paying it. The truth was a weapon, and I finally knew exactly where to aim it. The credit alert pinged on my phone while I was in a meeting with the company's board. My hands went numb as I stared at the notification. A loan approval for $50,000. A loan I never applied for. I excused myself, ignoring the concerned looks from my colleagues. In the hallway, I called the bank, my voice steady despite the rage building in my chest. Yes, Mrs. Harrison, the loan was approved this morning. Your husband provided all the necessary documentation, including your power of attorney. Power of attorney. The words hit me like a physical blow. I remembered signing something last year, Jake insisting it was just a formality for his new business venture. It'll make things easier, he'd said, flashing that boyish smile that once made my heart flutter. My office phone was blinking when I returned, 3 messages from Linda. I deleted them without listening and opened my email instead. There it was, buried in my spam folder, a confirmation for a business registration. Harrison Family Ventures, LLC. Today's date. My name listed as guarantor. The knock on my office door made me jump. Ruby. It was my assistant, Sarah. There's someone here to see you. Says she's your niece. Emily stood in the reception area, her backpack clutched to her chest. Her eyes were red-rimmed. Aunt Ruby, she whispered. I didn't know where else to go. I ushered her into my office, closing the door on curious stares. Does your mom know you're here? She shook her head. Mom and Grandma are fighting. Uncle Jake came over and they're all yelling about money and papers and... She hiccuped. Mom said you stole from us. But that's not true, is it? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Melanie. I sent it to voicemail. Emily, sweetie, how did you get here? I took the bus. I remembered your building from when you showed me where you work. She pulled something from her backpack, a manila folder. I found this in Mom's room. She was crying over it last night. The folder contained bank statements, loan documents, and emails. Dozens of them. Between Linda, Jake, and Melanie. Planning. Calculating. Using my income, my credit, my reputation to fund their schemes. "You're not the bad guy," Emily said quietly. "They are." My phone buzzed again. Jake this time. "Where's Emily?" "Mel's freaking out. Call me." I looked at Emily, then at the documents spread across my desk. 8 years of manipulation laid bare by an 8-year-old's curiosity. "Emily, I need to get you home." "Please don't make me go back," she whispered. "They're different when you're not there. Meaner. Grandma says terrible things, and Mom just agrees with everything, and Uncle Jake." My office phone rang. Linda's name flashed on the caller ID. I made a decision. "Sarah," I called out, "cancel my meetings for the rest of the day." I gathered the documents, tucking them into my briefcase. "Emily, how do you feel about ice cream?" Her face lit up, then fell. "But Mom says." "Your mom says a lot of things." I took her hand. "Let's go make some new rules." In the elevator, I texted Jake, "Emily's safe. With me. Don't worry. I'll document everything carefully. Just like you all did." The responses came rapid fire. Threats from Melanie. Guilt trips from Jake. Linda's message was just one line: "You've gone too far." I looked at Emily, who was humming softly, her small hand still in mine. "No, Linda. You all went too far. And now you're going to learn what happens when you push someone past their breaking point." "Aunt Ruby." Emily's voice was small. "Are you going to make them stop?" I squeezed her hand. "Yes, sweetheart. I'm going to make them stop." And I knew exactly where to begin. The folder in my briefcase wasn't just evidence of their betrayal. It was ammunition. They thought they were destroying me. Instead, they'd handed me everything I needed to tear their carefully constructed facade apart. Starting now. The police station's fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows as I sat across from Detective Morris. Emily's folder spread between us. My hands wouldn't stop shaking, but my voice remained steady. Identity theft, fraud, unauthorized loans. Morris flipped through the documents. "This is serious, Mrs. Harrison. But are you sure you want to pursue this? It's your husband we're talking about." "Ex-husband," I corrected. "And yes, I'm sure." My phone vibrated. Another message from Linda. "You're making a terrible mistake. Think about Emily." That's exactly what I was doing. The detective's office door opened. Sarah, my assistant, rushed in, clutching her tablet. "Ruby, you need to see this." She turned the screen toward me. Our company's internal homepage displayed a lengthy email from Jake to the entire board of directors. My stomach lurched as I read. Accusations of embezzlement, fabricated evidence of me stealing company funds, carefully doctored screenshots of transactions I'd never made. "They're calling an emergency board meeting," Sarah whispered. "Tomorrow morning." Detective Morris leaned forward. "This complicates things." My laugh sounded hollow, even to my own ears. "You think?" A knock on the door made us all turn. Melanie stood there, mascara streaked down her face. "Ruby, please." "Mom's taken Emily." The world tilted sideways. "What?" "She says she's protecting her from all of us. She won't tell me where they're going." Melanie's voice cracked. "I didn't know. I swear I didn't know how far she'd go." Detective Morris was already on the phone, barking orders about an endangered minor. I gripped the edge of the desk, trying to stay upright as Melanie continued. "The loans, the business ventures, they weren't Jake's idea. Mom's been planning this for years. She wanted to ruin you, make you look unstable. But now Emily's gone and I can't." My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. A photo of Emily, sleeping in what looked like a car seat. Below it, 2 words: "Choose wisely." "Mrs. Harrison," Detective Morris said, "we need to move quickly. But if we pursue these charges, your mother-in-law could retaliate with her own accusations. Given the email to your board." "She's counting on that," I said, the pieces finally clicking into place. "She thinks I'll back down to save my career. That I'll let them write me off as the unstable, greedy wife who tried to destroy the family." Sarah touched my arm. "Ruby, the board meeting can wait." I stood up, gathering the documents. "Detective, I want to file those charges. All of them. And I want a restraining order against Linda Harrison." Ruby, please, Melanie begged. If you do this, if I don't, Emily grows up thinking this is normal, that it's okay for family to manipulate and destroy each other. I turned to her. You can help us find her, or you can leave. Choose wisely. Melanie's face crumpled. She pulled out her phone, hands trembling. Mom has a lake house. It's not in her name, it's under a shell company. Emily and I spent last summer there. Detective Morris was already moving, coordinating with other officers. I watched them spring into action, feeling strangely calm. The career I'd built, my reputation, my future, all of it hung by a thread. But for the first time since this nightmare began, I knew exactly what I was fighting for. My phone buzzed one last time. Jake, whatever you're planning, don't. You'll lose everything. I typed back 3 words. I already have. Then I blocked his number and turned to Detective Morris. What do you need me to do? The detective smiled grimly. Tell me everything. From the beginning. So I did. Because some things were worth losing everything for. And some battles needed to be fought, no matter the cost. Behind me, Melanie sank into a chair, her face in her hands. Ahead, the detectives' team mobilized to find Emily. And somewhere between justice and revenge, I finally found my line in the sand. Linda wanted a war. She was about to get one. The lake house loomed before us, dark and silent in the pre-dawn light. Detective Morris's team moved into position while I sat in the unmarked car, my heart hammering against my ribs. Melanie fidgeted beside me, her fingers twisting a tissue into shreds. Mom always comes here when she's upset, she whispered. Ever since Dad. Since what? Since he tried to leave her. She made sure he lost everything first. A crackle of static from the police radio made us both jump. Movement inside. East window. I pressed my forehead against the cool glass, watching shadows shift behind curtains. Somewhere in there was Emily, caught in Linda's web of control and manipulation, just like her mother had been, just like Jake. The radio crackled again. Subject is moving toward the back door with the child. Now, Morris ordered. Everything exploded into motion. Officers emerged from the shadows, converging on the house. But before they reached the door, Linda stepped onto the back deck. Emily clutched against her chest. Stay back, she called out, her voice carrying across the yard. I'm not letting you take her. I reached for the car door, but Morris's hand shot out. Wait, Ruby. Linda spotted me in the car. Come out here. Face me yourself instead of hiding behind the police. Melanie grabbed my arm. Don't. You don't know what she's capable of. I know exactly what she's capable of. I shook off her grip and stepped out of the car. Linda's laugh carried across the space between us. Finally showing some backbone? Too late, dear. The board's already seen the evidence against you. Your career is over. Jake's filing criminal charges. You've lost everything. Emily, I called out, ignoring Linda. Are you okay, sweetheart? The little girl nodded, her eyes wide with fear. She's fine, Linda snapped. Better than she'd be with a thief for an aunt. Did you really think I wouldn't have proof of your embezzlement? That I wouldn't protect my family from you? I took another step forward. Like you protected them from your husband? Linda's face went white. Behind me, Melanie made a choked sound. Melanie told me everything, Linda. About the lake house. About what you did to her father. How many others have you destroyed to maintain control? You don't know anything, Linda hissed, but her grip on Emily loosened slightly. I kept walking, each step measured, deliberate. I know about the offshore accounts. The shell companies. The pattern of destruction that follows anyone who challenges you. I have proof of all of it. You're bluffing. Am I? Check your phone. She shifted Emily to one arm, pulling out her phone. I watched her face change as she saw the email I'd sent minutes ago. Documents, bank records, testimonies from her past victims. All copied to the board, the police, and every major news outlet in the city. You wouldn't, she whispered. You taught me well, Linda. Sometimes you have to burn everything down to build something new. Emily suddenly twisted free, running toward me. I caught her as Linda lunged forward, but the police were already moving. In seconds, they had her surrounded. You'll regret this, Linda snarled as they led her away. All of you will. I held Emily close, feeling her trembling. Melanie approached slowly, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I should have stopped her years ago." "Mom." Emily's small voice cut through the chaos. "Are we safe now?" I looked at the lake house, at Linda being placed in a police car, at the life I'd just burned to the ground. The sky was lightning, dawn breaking over the water. "Yes," I said, and for the first time in years, I believed it. "We're safe." My phone buzzed. Jake, probably learning what had happened. I declined the call. Whatever came next, whatever price I had to pay, some things were worth losing everything for. The sun rose over the lake, painting the world in shades of gold and promise. The boardroom felt like a tomb, 15 faces staring down at me from the elevated platform. My presentation materials, proof of Linda's schemes, Jake's fraud, the years of manipulation, sat untouched before them. Chairman Roberts hadn't even opened the folder. "Mrs. Harrison," he said, "these allegations against your mother-in-law are troubling. They're not allegations. They're facts. Facts that conveniently emerged after suspicious transfers were detected from company accounts under your supervision." The projector hummed to life, displaying transaction records. My stomach dropped as I recognized the pattern, perfectly crafted forgeries showing years of systematic theft. Linda's work, wearing my digital fingerprints. "I can explain." "Mrs. Harrison," Roberts cut in, "given the severity of these discoveries and your recent emotional instability, the board has decided to suspend you pending investigation." Security waited by the door. My access badge would be deactivated before I reached the lobby. 15 years of climbing the corporate ladder, destroyed in 15 minutes. My phone vibrated. Jake's lawyer. Criminal charges filed. Court date set. Recommend immediate settlement. I walked out with my head high, past Sarah's tearful face, past the whispers and stares. In the elevator, another message pinged. "Melanie. They're releasing Mom on bail. Emily's scared. Please help." The doors opened to reveal Jake waiting in the lobby, looking haunted. "Ruby, we need to talk." "Now you want to talk?" "After filing criminal charges." "I didn't. Mom's lawyer filed them. I tried to stop it, but you're still too weak to stand up to her." I moved past him, but he caught my arm. "She's destroying everything," he whispered. "The business loans, the fraud charges, she set us both up. I found proof, but she threatened Emily if I came forward." I jerked away. Convenient timing, Jake. Where was this revelation when she was pouring tea over my head? "Ruby, please. I know I messed up, but Emily, don't." My voice cracked. "Don't use that child as a shield for your cowardice." Outside, reporters waited. Linda's email to the media had done its work. The successful executive's spectacular fall from grace, complete with accusations of theft and family betrayal. Cameras flashed as I pushed through them. My phone buzzed again. "Detective Morris, evidence compromised. Internal Affairs investigation launched. Can't help further." Of course. Linda's influence reached far. I made it to my car before the tears came. Everything I'd built, everything I'd fought for, gone. Linda had outmaneuvered me at every turn, using my own weapons against me. Even my attempt to expose her had played into her hands. A tap on my window made me jump. Emily stood there, tears streaming down her face. Behind her, Melanie hovered uncertainly. "Grandma's coming home," Emily sobbed as I opened the door. "She says we're all going to live together now. Be a proper family. She says you're sick and need help." Melanie called. "We should go." "No." Emily clung to me. "Aunt Ruby's not sick. Grandma's the one who hurts people." I saw the papers, the ones she made Uncle Jake sign. I heard her on the phone about the fake money stuff. Melanie went pale. "Emily, what papers?" "In Grandma's special room. The one we're not supposed to talk about." I looked at Melanie, seeing the same realization dawn in her eyes. Linda's perfect plan had one flaw. She'd forgotten about the one person she thought didn't matter. The child who saw everything. "Emily," I said carefully, "would you be brave enough to tell Detective Morris about those papers?" She nodded, squeezing my hand. My phone buzzed one last time. "Linda, it's over, Ruby. You've lost." I looked at Emily's determined face, at Melanie's dawning courage, at the truth finally emerging from the shadows. Maybe I had lost everything. But sometimes, losing everything was just the beginning. No, Linda, I whispered. It's just starting. Linda's special room looked exactly as Emily had described, a pristine home office with walls of filing cabinets. Detective Morris and his team moved methodically through the space while Linda sat rigid in her chair, her perfect posture finally cracking. This is harassment, she spat. You have no right. Actually, Morris held up the warrant. We do. Emily's testimony was quite specific about which cabinet contained the forged documents. I leaned against the doorframe, watching Linda's face. The same face that had smiled while dumping tea on me, now twisted with barely contained rage. You're using a child, she hissed at me. My own granddaughter. No, Linda. You used her. Just like you used Jake, Melanie, and everyone else. The detective's voice cut through our tension, found it. Linda lunged for the drawer, but two officers held her back. Morris pulled out a thick folder, original loan documents, banking records, emails outlining her entire scheme. Everything Emily had described. It's over, Mom. Jake stood in the doorway, Melanie beside him. Both looked shell-shocked as Morris read out document after document. You ungrateful children, Linda's voice trembled. Everything I did was for this family. To keep us together. To make us strong. You made us weak. Melanie stepped forward. You made us afraid. Of you. Of failure. Of everything. Afraid. Linda laughed, high and brittle. I made you successful. Ask your father how well he did after he left. Ask anyone who's crossed me. Ask Emily. I cut in. What were you teaching her, Linda? That love means control? That family means fear. She turned on me, mask finally shattering. You were nothing before this family. A nobody from nowhere who thought she could take my son, my legacy. Your legacy? Jake's voice cracked. Look around, Mom. Look what you've built. Lies. Fraud. Your own granddaughter testified against you because she was more afraid of your love than your anger. Speaking of testimony, Morris interrupted. Mrs. Harrison, we found evidence of extensive financial fraud, identity theft, and criminal conspiracy. You'll need to come with us. Linda's eyes darted around the room, finding no allies. You can't prove. Actually, I pulled out my phone. We can. Emily wasn't the only one gathering evidence. Remember that charity foundation you used to launder money? Their board just voted to cooperate with the investigation. Fully. The color drained from her face. You learned from the best. I stepped closer. You taught me well, Linda. About power. About consequences. About family. She lunged at me suddenly, years of careful control exploding into rage. But before the officers could react, Melanie caught her mother's arm. Stop. Melanie's voice was quiet but firm. Just stop. Linda stared at her daughter's hand, then at Jake's resolute face, then finally at me. Something crumbled behind her eyes. You've destroyed everything, she whispered. No, I replied. You did that yourself. I just showed them the truth. As the officers led her away, Jake touched my arm. Ruby, don't. I stepped back. This isn't forgiveness, Jake. This is justice. There's a difference. What happens now? Melanie asked, staring at the empty doorway where her mother had disappeared. Emily's voice answered from the hallway. We get better. We all turned. She stood there, small but straight-backed, looking so much stronger than any of us. We get better, she repeated. Right, Aunt Ruby? I looked at this broken family. Jake's shame, Melanie's grief, Emily's hope. The revenge I'd wanted had transformed into something else. Something that felt less like victory and more like liberation. Yes, I said, taking Emily's hand. We get better. Behind us, Linda's perfect room lay in ruins, her careful facade stripped away. But in that destruction, I saw something new emerging. Something real. Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying your enemies. Sometimes it's about destroying the lies they built their power on. And sometimes that's enough. The courtroom emptied slowly, murmurs echoing off marble walls as Linda was led away in handcuffs. I remained seated, watching Emily draw patterns on the wooden bench with her finger. 7 to 10 years, she said thoughtfully. That's like forever. Not forever, I replied. Just long enough. Melanie approached, clutching her purse like a shield. The house sold. Above asking price. She handed me an envelope. Your share of the proceeds. I know it doesn't make up for. Keep it, I said. Put it in Emily's college fund. The ghost of a smile crossed her face. You're still looking out for us, even after everything. Not for us, Emily corrected. For me. Because I told the truth. Jake lingered by the courtroom doors, uncertain. He'd testified against his mother, finally finding his voice after years of silence. Too late for us, but maybe not too late for himself. My phone buzzed, a message from the board. After Linda's conviction, they'd launched an internal investigation that cleared my name. They wanted me back, with a promotion and a public apology. I deleted the message without responding. You're not going back, are you? Emily asked, watching my face. No. Some places you can't go back to. Sometimes you have to build something new. Like my art studio. She pulled a folded paper from her pocket, a business plan written in crayon, complete with stick figure drawings. Mom says I'm too young, but I've been saving my allowance. Melanie sighed. Emily. Actually, I interrupted. I'd like to hear this pitch. Emily's face lit up. She launched into her presentation, describing her vision for an after-school art program for kids. No pressure, no competition, just creation. A safe space to express themselves. And see. She pointed to a wobbly organizational chart. You could help run it, Aunt Ruby. You're good at business stuff and Mom's good at art, and we could. She stopped, uncertain. Unless you don't want to be around us anymore. The question hung in the air, heavy with the weight of everything that had happened. I looked at Melanie's hopeful expression, at Jake's distant guilt, at Emily's simple wisdom. You know what Linda never understood? I said finally. The difference between controlling people and supporting them. Between fear and love. Emily nodded solemnly. Like how she said she was protecting us, but really she was just scared of losing us? Exactly. I picked up her business plan. So maybe it's time to build something different. Something real. Is that a yes? Her eyes sparkled. It's a let's talk about it. Over ice cream. Can Mom come? I met Melanie's gaze. If she wants to. Jake stepped forward. Ruby, not you, Jake. I kept my voice gentle but firm. Some bridges stay burned. But I hope you build better ones. He nodded, understanding finally settling into his features. As he left, Emily slipped her hand into mine. Grandma said revenge would make you ugly inside, she whispered. But it didn't. It made you stronger. Made all of us stronger. I thought about Linda's face as the verdict was read, about the years of manipulation unraveled by a child's truth, about the difference between revenge and justice, between destruction and transformation. Ready to go? I asked. Emily nodded, then paused. Can we get chocolate ice cream? Any flavor you want. As we left the courthouse, I felt the weight of the past 8 years lifting. Linda's perfect family had shattered, but from its ruins, something authentic was emerging. Not perfect, not unmarked, but real. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. Sometimes it's about getting free. And sometimes, freedom tastes like chocolate ice cream on a Tuesday afternoon, planning a future that nobody else gets to control.